So recently I've had a couple people ask me, at what point do you sell your old car and buy a new one? And so I just thought I would make a quick video and just kind of talk about, at what point do you do that? For me, I think it's mostly a matter of personal preferences. When you get a new car, personally, I think even though you'd be paying on average more every single month than if you were to keep an older car, you're paying for security and that your car will be working. And I think that's probably the biggest difference. In keeping an older car, I personally like to think about, comparing the lifetime of a car to the lifetime of a person. So see, for example, when you buy a new car, that's like someone in their, let's just say they're 20 years old. Right? And for every 5 years that passes with your car, that's like 10 years for a person. So, once you've owned your cars for 5 years, that's like someone in their 30s. Once you've owned it for 10 years, that's someone in their 40s. If you have a car for 30 years, that's someone in their 80s. But keeping an older car, you may be having like Stanley from The Office, where, obviously being older, you run the risk of like having a heart attack. You may be able to do push-ups, but you still may have some health issues to deal with.
Stanley, you will not die!
You just simply run the risk, and you're just kind of gambling every month that passes if you're going to fix something or not. Because once you cross, 150,000 miles, there just simply will be little things to fix. You may have to replace spark plugs. There may be a headlight that burns out, or it may be in the middle of the summer and your AC could start running warm and you have to buy a new AC compressor, and that could be like $1,000. But if you're comfortable with that kind of level of risk, with, if your car works fine and you're okay with not having that nice of a car, I would stick with it. And like I said, if you're comfortable knowing that every day that passes, you're just getting closer to probably having to fix something soon. And by having a new car, it's much less likely that you're going to have to fix something. And that's why my wife and I bought a newer car. I mean, between work and school, I don't have a whole lot of time to be fixing a car. And this is our only car. We depend on it. And so I can't afford financially or with time to be sending in my car to be getting fixed often. And so, bottom line, personally for me, if you're the kind of person that doesn't drive every single day, maybe a few times a week, and you're not taking, long road trips very often, I would stick with an older car because it gets the job done and you really don't depend on it that much. But if you're like me and you're making 2,000-mile road trips, every 3 months, and you're driving every single day, maybe you're doing Uber, if you're driving that much, you likely depend a lot on your car. And at least in a financial perspective, I personally think it's kind of hard to say, which would be more cost effective. That's why I've been saying it's mostly a gamble if you keep an older car, because you're not all that sure what's going to be breaking. And so, if your transmission and AC is going to go out in the same month, yeah, that's going to be really expensive. But you could be driving a car for 10, 20 years and, only have to change like an alternator. I think if I were to stick with an older car, a smart thing to do would be to look up on NHTSA.gov and just look at what problems people have already had with the car that you're driving. And so that way you can at least gauge what is more likely to break. So if you have a car that people have, had to replace the transmission on at 150,000 miles, I would definitely take that into consideration. But if the problems that your car has had for other people have been relatively cheap things, I'd be more likely to hang on to it. So those are just some things to consider as far as, if you should keep or sell an older car. I hope it's helpful. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you have more questions like this that you'd like me to cover, or specific cars or types of cars that you'd like me to review or talk about, let me know in the comments, and I'll try to make a video of it here in the relatively near future. Be sure to subscribe so that you didn't miss any of my new stuff. Like I also said, I have a truck tournament that I'll be doing. It's not quite ready just yet, so I'll be having that here within the next week or two. I'm really close on it, so stay tuned for that. Like I said, hit the subscribe button. Don't miss out on anything. And as always, thanks for watching.